Mr. Ruffins, good afternoon. Would you introduce yourself, tell us your name and DOC number, please?
My name is Carl Ruffin. My DOC number is 412-788.
All right, Mr. Ruffins, let me just, and you're represented by counsel. Counsel, would you introduce yourself, please?
Good afternoon, Ms. Renata. Jane Hogan on behalf of Carl Ruffins, and with the committee's approval, I'll make a brief statement at the end of the hearing.
Okay, thank you. And let me acknowledge the folks who've joined us. We have Ms. Heidi Buckle, Talia Goodlow, and there at the penitentiary, we have Carlisha Nash, Joseph Nash, Brenda Nash, Laurish Nash, James Nash, Zaniel Atkins, and Zach. I don't know Zach's last name. What is Zach's last name?
Zach Seabird. Oh,
Did you spell that for me?
Seabird. Ma'am?
Spell that last name.
SYBURD.
Seabird. Okay. All right. And my information is that we have the Parole Project will be speaking on your behalf, Joseph and James Nash, and Mr. Atkins.
Yes, we will be having the Parole Project, besides my attorney, my brother James, and also my brother Joseph. Those will be the only people speaking, if you don't mind. Yes, ma'am.
Good deal. Thank you. So first, let me just read some identifying information and we'll get started. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Freeman, so I'll turn it over to him when after you confirm this information. So Carl Ruffins, your DOC is 412-788. You're seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in February 1999 to a life sentence for a second-degree murder conviction in the 1st Judicial District in Caddo Parish. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. All those things are correct.
All right, Mr. Freeman.
Okay, Mr. Ruffin, how old are you currently?
I am currently 46. I'll be 47 in October.
Okay, and how long have you served on this charge?
I served as of August the 9th of this year, 25 years.
Do you have your GED or high school diploma?
Yes, sir. I do have a GED.
And did you obtain it while you was in prison or before you came?
I actually obtained my GED in 1996 from Ouachita, Arkansas. I was in Job Corps.
Okay, Mr. Ruffin, the victim in this case was Donald Reed. Did you know Donald before y'all had y'all altercation?
No, sir. I did not know Mr. Donald Reed before we had an altercation.
Okay, tell me what went on. Tell me exactly, because it's kind of confusing.
Yes,
all
sir.
the drive, all turning around, coming back, him almost hitting the car with the bike. Tell me exactly what happened and tell me the truth, okay? Today's the day.
Yes, sir. On August the 8th of 1998, Montgomery Williams was the driver. Me and Jerome Atkins were passengers. I was the front seat passenger. Montgomery Williams was making a right turn. At the same time, simultaneously, Mr. Donald Reed was crossing the intersection on a bike. I do not know exactly if he was hit or not. But what I do know is it looked like he was possibly hit. He drops the bike, he looks angry. Then Montgomery Williams gets out the car. It looks like those two argue. He gets back in the car, we drive down the street. He turns around almost exactly to the spot he almost hit the guy. He ducks down in the seat. At that point, Mr. Donald Reed starts walking up to the passenger side of the car from the front view. And I did one of the most regretful things I could ever. I got out of the car. I said, Miss.
So at that time, you shot Mr. Reed, correct? So the argument wasn't between you two, I mean, but you did get out the car and you shot. And you admit to that.
Yes, sir.
And quite frankly, there wasn't much reasoning behind the shooting on your part, correct? Were you on any drugs or alcohol at that time?
Yes, sir, I was. I was drinking at night. I was smoking weed. I was using cocaine.
How long had you used weed and cocaine since what age?
Weed, I've been using since probably about the age of 15. Cocaine was something relatively new.
All right. Have you done any classes or received any treatment for your drugs?
Yes, sir, I have.
And what classes have you taken?
I've taken AA. I've taken Living in Balance 1 and 2. I've taken substance abuse. I do weekly community AA twice a week in the education building.
Okay, what have you these classes in AA?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you, sir.
What have you learned from these classes in your AA meetings?
I learned that I will always be an addict. I learned that I will always struggle with my addiction. I learned that first I had to realize that my life was unmanageable. And then I had to believe that there was a higher power. I had to turn it over to that higher power. And I've done those things. I also believe that I need community service. I need some way. Try to make it right.
All right. The judge and the DA and the sheriff are opposed, which is normal. The offender's family, Miss Eloise Lewis, she's opposed. That's his mother. And your family, James Nash, your brother, is unopposed. And said he will help you however he can when you get out. Did you have any work history prior to committing this offense? Were you working?
Not at the time. At the time I was not working. I do have a sir?
I say, go ahead. Have you ever worked?
Yes, sir, I have. I did a lot of range of jobs, mainly fast food services. I also did a few construction type of jobs. I worked as a painter. One of the last jobs I had, I was a certified asbestos worker.
Okay. What is going to be your sobriety plan when you get out? How are you going to stay sober? It's to be the first thing you do to try to make sure that you stay sober.
One of the first things I do to try to make sure that I stay sober, I would like to continue my sobriety meetings that I could have right here in prison. My brother Joseph, he's contacted a couple of places in which I will be able to attend. I also, because I do go to weekly AA meetings up here, I also talked to one of the guys, Carl, and he assisted me by providing 3 addresses within 9-mile radius to where my brother would be staying in Fort Nate, Texas.
You're low risk, minimum custody. You've had 47 disciplinary reports. The last one was in 2018. It was a lower court report. Your last major report was in 2016. Was that a sex offense?
Yes, sir, it actually was.
So what family member are you gonna live without if you get out?
I will be living, sir,
What's your plans?
I'll be living with Mr. Joseph Nash, which is my youngest brother. He lives in Fort Nate, Texas. I'll be working there, doing maintenance work with his boss, Mr. Zach Zerud, if I'm correct, his last name is pronounced.
Yeah, you're gonna go to the parole project first?
Yes, sir. The parole project has said that they would take me on to help get me reacclimated into society.
Will y'all keep him until interstate compact is approved?
Yes, sir, we would.
Thank you. Okay, just give me I see you taking victim awareness. What did you learn in victim awareness?
Victim awareness taught me about role and responsibility. That no matter what a role somebody else may have played, regardless if it was the victim or was somebody else inside, responsibility was mine in decision-making, ultimately. Victim awareness also taught me about my own denials that I had. Because at one time, I honestly believed that somehow or another, that by denying things, that I can excuse myself from them. Victim awareness also speaks about having healthy boundaries. That's something that I lacked often in life, is having healthy boundaries, because I found myself sometimes leaning just because somebody asked me to do, overextending myself, as you might say. I actually find victim awareness a very profound teaching. It's what actually got me to see what my responsibility was for and who it was to. I now understand that every decision and action I make in life, I am the ultimate decision maker, regardless to what happens, regardless if I'm using drugs, regardless if I'm angry, regardless of how I may feel about what the other person may do. That in actuality, no life is worth taking.
So in other words, what would you tell the victim's family if you had a chance to speak with them?
I would tell the victim family that the night of August 8, 1998, what I did is wrong. They should never have to live a life without the sun in his life. They should never have to go a day. Their son, their sibling, their family member. I would
Right.
tell if I could trade places, I would. There's not a day that passes that I don't regret what I did. There's not a day that passes that I do not feel bad for what I did.
All right, you also took Thinking for a Change, Malachi Dad, CPR, Cage Your Rage, Living in Balance, you're a Point Lookout volunteer, so you're still doing community service at the prison.
Yes, sir.
You do attend NA and AA. You have some letters of recommendation for your backing you and wanting you to get out. Warden, what can you tell me about Mr. Ruffin? And also, why is he considered fair when it comes to his institutional record?
Why is it considered what, excuse me?
Fair,
Fair?
yeah, but
Well, he has a total of 47 DB reports, with the last one being, the last Schedule B being the 21 that he talked about, and then his, low court, he had a Rule 4 in 2018 for, disobedience. He's a minimum B, he's assigned to Cypress 1 and he's in the plumbing school, and his Tiger is low.
any other problems, any other recommendations?
No, sir.
Solid questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Let's hear from the Parole Project.
Yes, good afternoon. Kerry Myers with the Louisiana Parole Project. Here to let the board know that we have accepted Mr. Ruffins as a client in our program. We've actually, Mr. Ruffins actually contacted us about a year ago. Actually, I was walking through on a tour through the welding school and came across Mr. Ruffins, and we had a conversation. But I had already known about his work. He is certified in welding, also in pesticide. He does have CPR, as I said. He is a Point Lookout volunteer. So he understands what giving back means. We will provide support, transitional housing and support. That also will include, we'll be connecting him transitionally to AANA while he is with us, as he's awaiting the approval of his interstate compact to his brother in Texas, where he does have a stable family environment plus employment waiting, mainly because he is skilled and he has that ability. We believe that, Mr. Ruffins has addressed the issues that led him to prison. We believe that he is an excellent client. He would be an excellent client should he get released through this board's actions. We support him through his transition, where he will get the services that he needs. And we will, like I said earlier, as Mr. Freeman asked, we will provide him transitional housing through the time it takes for his interstate compact to be approved. So we just ask this board today to grant him relief today.
Thank you. And before we move to Mr. Nash, I wanted just to make a point of clarification for the record. We mentioned earlier that the victim's mother was opposed, and that is reflected in the pre-parole investigation. But later, I believe she submitted, or there was an victim impact statement, which she says she asked that the board consider whether incarceration has truly changed the offender. She wonders if he would go back to the same lifestyle and wind up killing again or being killed himself. She didn't give a specific opinion, stating that she's refusing the offender the opportunity at parole won't bring her son back to life. So she didn't offer support. She didn't really offer opposition either. Mr. Joseph Nash, could we hear from you, please?
My name is Joe Nash, and I'm Carl's youngest brother. Everyone here has had a bad season in their life, which is why we're here today, to see if there's any difference between who Carl was in 98, but also to acknowledge who Carl has grown to become today. You know, everything from Carl's past has come up. You know, everything that was less than perfect from his past has come up, but allow me to share a side of Carl, the loving side, the positive side, the influential side of Carl that, you know, some of you may not know. I remember being 7 years old and Carl would pick me up and put me on his shoulders. And he'd walk me to and from school almost every day. You know, that's the big brother that all of us look up to. You know, and when I consider Carl being incarcerated and I look at all the things that he's accomplished and everything that he's done, Carl is the epitome of someone who makes the best and the most out of his situation. And because of how much Carl has motivated us through his words of encouragement and his silent inspiration is why we want to be able to give back to him. So he'll have a great place to stay. He'll have a great paying job at Liberty Healthcare, where he'll be the facility maintenance person there. I've been employed there for 8 years. Zach, he's part owner in the company. He'll also have transportation to and from any NAAA meeting that he would need. But as I close, I do believe that if Carl is granted release, that once he reenters society, that he will be a successful, productive, law-abiding citizen, not just because of who he's grown to become today, but because of the strong support system that he has back in him, and also a group of accountability partners. But ultimately, man, we love Carl, and we're here to support him.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. James Nash.
Yes, I'm James. I'm Carl's younger brother as well. I really think my brother Joseph pretty much laid it out for the most part. It's hard for all of us. All of us are a little nervous. I mean, because of course, we know it's at stake today. But the biggest thing is just we've seen growth and maturity in Carl from the time where he was originally incarcerated to where he is now, and even in our own lives, we've seen that. It's also not as though he has, an extensive criminal background, first time felony offender. It's not as though he has this extensive violent background either. And then just lastly, I think I really want to touch on what Angola has been able to offer. I mean, throughout all the programs and the courses and certificates, I couldn't name them all, but I know he's been through a lot. What impresses me the most is the welding certification that he has. Being that we both used to weld, and it's just not, it's not an easy thing to do, even outside in society. So for him to be able to accomplish that has been really, really big. Trying to contain emotion, but at the same time, really, really hoping that the board is able to see how Angola has provided these foundational blocks that's really set them up for life outside of the walls of incarceration, and how he truly is been rehabilitated.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ruffins, is there anything you'd like to say to us before we turn it over to your attorney?
I'd like to read something if you don't mind. First, with all the earnest sincerity of my heart, I apologize to the Reed family, to my own family, to society, to this honorable board, to the governor whom I petitioned for clemency. The grief I caused to everyone was unnecessary. I am deeply remorseful. And again, I apologize to Ms. Lewis, the Reed siblings, to Mr. Reed's children, to Mr. Bertel, to Mr. Cortez Jenkins, Ms. Andrea Johnson, Mr. Michael Johnson, Mr. Montgomery Williams, Mr. Jerome Atkins, for others who I have affected. As much as I empathize, I would never truly understand the enormity of what each of you go through daily. However, I do realize this is not the worst. Excuse me. I do realize this is the worst decision I could ever make. Never will I be able to say enough apologies. I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. I will forever owe a debt to society and redemption to myself. Truly, I regret I did not make better choices. My faulty thinking caused you unimaginable pain. The man I am now wishes I could take it all back. In closing, I am grateful to the Department of Correction for all the programs that they are available to offenders here at Angola. Classes like victim awareness, thinking for a chain cage array, living in balance, were instrumental in my cognitive restructuring. Piece by piece, these classes fostered my change in thinking. Thank you, honorable board members, for the opportunity to be heard, for allowing me to publicly apologize. And finally, I ask the board to grant mercy upon me by committing my life sentence to numbers and parole eligibility. Thank you.
Ms. Hogan.
Thank you, Ms. Renata. This board looks a lot at programs that people have taken to better themselves throughout their incarceration. And I think this board also looks to the insight, the personal insight that people have on the impact that their crimes had, not just to the victims, but also to the community at large. And I think that Carl Ruffins really embodies the insight that he has on what his crime caused, what his actions caused in 1998 is profound. Every single time we've ever discussed what happened in 1998, what he did in 1998, he cannot talk about it without weeping. He's horrified by his own actions, and that insight that he has motivated him to become a completely different person, to take every available course, as well as the ones that were mentioned. Carl participated in multiple programs for the JCs, the Toastmasters, spiritual-based curriculums. He's got certifications in pesticide, welding, currently is in IT3 computer school, and currently is in plumbing school. And although he's a volunteer with Point Lookout, there's also things that he does that he doesn't get certificates for. If there are people that need to be pushed to cafeteria that are wheelchair bound, Carl volunteers to push guys that can't walk. He volunteers to fill sandbags whenever there's a hurricane. If there's anything that is ever needed, Carl is one of the first people to volunteer. And I think that he didn't just take Living in Balance 1 and 2 and get the certificate and go about his business. He continues, and he has continued to go to multiple twice a week to go to 12-step meetings, because he knows that was a big contributor to his incarceration, was his substance abuse. And he has a remarkable amount of family support. He has an out-of-state plan. If he were to ever be released, he would go through the parole project. He would then go to Texas. He's got wonderful family support. He's got a sobriety plan. He understands the 12 steps are ongoing. He understands that he needs support throughout the rest of his life, and he's committed to that. And his record really demonstrates that. For all of these reasons, he's not returning to the Caddo area. He's going to Baton Rouge, that he would go to Texas. The amount of programs that he has completed and continues to participate in, his work history, his low risk of recidivism, and the growth that has occurred over the last 25 years. Carl was 21 years old when he came to prison. So we would ask, based on all of this, as well as his own genuine remorse that is demonstrated anytime you talk to Carl about what he did in 1998, we would ask this board to commute Carl's sentence to a term of years with the opportunity for release through parole or through good time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Right, I think the board's prepared to vote. Mr. Freeman?
Yes, ma'am. You know, the hardest thing we have, Carl, is to balance out things. With regards to your rehabilitation, I'm very confident in that. With regards to 25 years for a murder, that's very borderline. But the fact is, I do believe that you are truly sorry for what you have done. You served 25 years, you completed some good programs. You have terrific family support, as we see behind you, and you have the support of the Parole Project. And for those reasons, I am going to grant your computation today. Commute the sentence to 50 years. And I strongly recommend that you, when you get to Texas, that you find a support group and continue on your rehabilitation, and always remember you are a drug addict, 100%. You're not to leave the Parole Project until Interstate Compact is completed in Texas.
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Jackson?
Mr. Ruffin, I think you exhibited a high degree of achievement and rehabilitation. Don't know what else you could do that you have not already accomplished over the last 25 years. You have the support of the Parole Project family that's very able to support you and keep you accountable. So my vote, grant to 50 years with just recommend commutation of 50 years.
Thank you, Mr. Roche.
Madam Chairman, my vote is the same for the same reasons.
Mr. Marabella?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My vote likewise is the same for the same reasons.
All right, Mr. Ruffins, I do agree. That's my vote as well. So on your behalf, sir, we'll make the recommendation to Governor Edwards that your sentence be commuted to 50 years. You'd like to.
Thank you.